There's a lot of harsh criticism, there's a lot of judgment, shaming, and these take a toll on one's mental health.
I remember interviewing Ariana Grande back in 2024 for Wicked. And one of the questions I asked her was like, are you finding time to get any sleep at all? And she laughed and she said a little.
Ariana Grande says she needs a break. The US singer and actor announced she'll be stepping back from public life after her Eternal Sunshine music tour ends next month. Now, she'll also be dropping out of her role in the new production of a Stephen Sondheim musical in London. The 33-year-old starred in Wicked and the sequel Wicked for Good, which earned her Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination for her role in Glinda in the first film. A representative for Grande told People magazine that she will be taking a step back from visibility when the tour ends, citing endless ongoing public scrutiny. Now, that scrutiny is centered on Grande's physical appearance and health for years. It intensified again after the release of her new album, Petal, and its title track video last Friday. Many fans said she looked noticeably thinner in her promotional material for the album's launch. So is this a case of a celebrity who simply can't take the heat, or rather about a woman who's dealt with extreme levels of scrutiny about the way she looks and is now taking back control? Let's get more on that from KJ Matthews. She's an entertainment reporter based in LA and knows all about the pressures celebrities like Ariana Grande are under. KJ, it's good to have you with us. Ariana Grande's spokesperson says she's stepping back because of endless ongoing public scrutiny. What does that phrase tell us about the kind of pressure she's been experiencing?
Well, she's under a tremendous amount of pressure. For the last couple of years, let's look at what she's done. She was nominated for an Oscar. She did Wicked Part 1 and Part 2. And I don't know if you know anything about the Wicked productions, but they really did a worldwide global press tour where they got very little rest. I remember interviewing Ariana Grande back in 2024 for Wicked. And one of the questions I asked her was like, are you finding time to get any sleep at all? And she laughed and she said a little. But it was because that particular day that I was interviewing her for the press junket, she had dozens and dozens of other press journalists that were also interviewing her. And that did not encompass all of the places around the world that she had to travel in order to have a premiere in various countries for Wicked Part 1 and Part 2. So she's really been on just a whirlwind. And then she's out now currently on the Eternal Sunshine tour. That's the promotion of her 7th studio album of the same name. And then she just released her 8th studio album called Petal just a few days ago. So she's been very busy. And I think people are also forgetting she also filed a lawsuit just a few days ago against anonymous hackers. She said that someone had broke into her system and basically stole music and videos and pictures. And so she wants to know who has done that. So she's been busy. She's always been busy ever since she burst on the scene as kind of a teen. But yeah, she's an actress. She's a singer. And she reads social media like all of us do. So yes, she's going to be affected.
Right. Is it common for stars at this level to step back from public life to protect themselves, their mental health, their well-being in the way she's done?
It hasn't been done a lot, but it has been done. Remember, Justin Bieber took a break from his tour. Adele finished up her last Las Vegas residency, and she said you wouldn't be seeing her for a while. That was back in 2024. 2 years later, we still haven't really seen her perform. I believe Ed Sheeran took a break. And earlier this year, because the actress Zendaya has so many films coming out this year, she even said she feels like after it's all said and done this year, she might take a break. So yes, not a lot, but a few celebrities do find the time to step back and say, maybe I'm oversaturated, or maybe I just need to take a break for my mental health.
Does this kind of announcement actually kind of become counterproductive in a sense, that the actual announcement intensifies the media attention in the short term? I'm just wondering, how would she manage that?
It probably can. I mean, obviously, if she's seen in public, whether she's going to the grocery store or shopping with her friends or out dining with her family or something, people are going to try to get those pictures and want to try to talk to her. But, when it's all said and done, she has to put her mental health first, because if she doesn't, there will not be an Ariana Grande, the actress, or Ariana Grande, the singer, which her fans globally, millions of fans, want to see.
What does this actually look like in practice? Because we know about the sort of paparazzi sector who follow celebrities all the time. They will still probably be following her. So what does this actually mean for her?
Well, we know she's not going to do the upcoming musical in London next summer. She said that's out. She's taking time off. But, she does have a new film coming out November 25th called Focker-in-Law. And she hasn't really talked about whether or not she will be doing any press tour for that. That's just 4 months away. So it will be interesting to see if she comes out momentarily just to possibly do a press tour or do a few interviews, or attend the premiere without doing any press interviews. That'll be interesting. And remember, she's currently in the middle of her concert tour, which doesn't end until, I believe, the beginning of September. She is performing tonight in Chicago, Monday night. She has a couple more performances in Chicago, and then she heads to London, where she will wrap up the tour by September 1st.
We talk about these promotional tours, these commitments that such people have to take part in. But what about social media? Is this what has changed the scale and the intensity of scrutiny that, compared to previous generations?
Well, I always like to compare it to the fact that you take away the celebrity factor and you look at how many normal people, parents, are suing social media companies. And you know what a lot of them are saying? Their children's mental health is being affected by social media. There are certain lawsuits that are saying that. So imagine when you're a celebrity that has hundreds of millions of followers, whether it be TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or X or Theory or any of those social media platforms, and you're constantly having people weigh in on what you look like, people who have never met you before. I would imagine it would take a toll on you and your health.
Right. Is there a risk this could affect her career?
I don't think so, because she's so globally famous and has so many fans for her acting as well as for her singing. And I look at the other people who have stepped away. Adele stepped away. She hasn't really performed in 2 years. But if Adele were to come out tomorrow and say, I'm going to do another performance again, or I'm going to have a concert, I can assure you that those tickets would sell out. There's still the demand there. Same thing for Justin Bieber. He took some time off. And when he came back and he was in Coachella, and then recently he did a small performance for the World Cup, the demand was still there. Ed Sheeran the same way. So I don't think long term this will impact her, especially if she's only taking a year and a half off.
I suppose in the same vein, one could argue that it's only stars of that level who can afford, am I right in saying that, who can afford to do that? And those who are not quite at the A-list will have to just roll with the punches and can't take this kind of break.
You're absolutely right in saying that. And I would be disingenuous if I disagree with you. But yes, she is considered an A-list star. Same thing with Adele. Adele was considered an A-list, a celebrity singer. Same thing with Justin Bieber. So yes, when you are at that level, you probably can take some time off, a lot longer time off than perhaps somebody who's still trying to make their way in the music industry or still trying to make their way in films or whatnot. So she does have that to fall back on, that she is such a celebrity and she has made such an enormous amount of money and she has such a legion of fans around the world that they'll be there waiting for her whenever she decides to return.
On that note, do you think this sort of sends a positive message to the fans on the importance of protecting their mental health?
Oh, yes, I definitely think I haven't seen very many people on social media going against her, saying that she shouldn't take time off. Most people are saying, definitely take the time off that you need to take care of whatever issue you may be going through. Nobody knows what those issues are. I may have seen one or two people saying this is what happens when you're a celebrity. You just have to roll with the punches, like you said. But most people have been understanding and would like to see her take some time off if that's going to make her feel better and make her come back stronger as an artist.
Just to wrap up, I'm just wondering as well, is this part of a general cultural shift in the way the public responds to high-profile figures?
I wish that were the case, but I just don't think so because, when you're contrarian, when you're having hot takes, when you're saying things that maybe aren't as pleasant on social media, you get engagement. And when you get engagement, the algorithm really rewards that. And that's what it's about. People make money, they get more followers when they're doing these hot takes, and they're doing hot takes on celebrities. It brings in a lot more engagement. So I don't think that that's going to go away anytime soon. I wish it would, but I don't think that's the case as long as we have social media around.
Entertainment journalist KJ Matthews, always great speaking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have with us Dr. Gail Saltz, Clinical Associate Professor of Psychiatry at Weill Cornell Medical College and host of the How Can I Help podcast. Good to have you with us.
Nice.
What does this decision from Ariana Grande tell us about the hidden costs of fame?
That the pressure and the microscope that celebrities are under often adds to difficulties that range from their mental health to their physical health. And that's not surprising. I think, honestly, many celebrities have seen this, that it's very difficult to be famous. Part of the difficulty is that people develop what's called a parasocial relationship, where they believe that they have a relationship with the celebrity of sorts, that they believe either that there's a relationship in a way or that they have an intimacy and that they're entitled to therefore have impact, to speak with them or speak about them, to criticize, to idealize, all of those things. And with many people doing that, it's very, very difficult for the person who is being evaluated constantly. It's very stressful. Sometimes there's a lot of harsh criticism. There's a lot of judgment, shaming, and these take a toll on one's mental health.
Would you say that's something that's become increasingly popular?
I think that the celebrity has always, invoked being under a microscope of sorts. But I think that in this day and age, there is even more of it than there used to be, let's say, a decade ago, with social media, with the omni-availability of all kinds of internet news and commentary and focus, so that it's almost impossible for the celebrity to be away from it. They have to make very, very, very concerted efforts to not be involved, to not listen, to limit sort of, I guess what I'll call paparazzi, and to protect their lives.
I suppose Ariana Grande's situation is also slightly unique because she's spoken about PTSD and anxiety after the bombing at her concert in Manchester in England in 2019. And of course, then adding the scrutiny we're talking about. So do you think this decision to step away would that have come as a surprise to you?
It does not. Actually, I think it's heartening. I think, it can be difficult when you are very famous and your career depends on that fame to make a self-protective decision to step back and try to protect your privacy somewhat. And I think that what's notable about having trauma in the past is really just that, extreme trauma can certainly increase one's propensity toward an anxiety disorder, as you mentioned, PTSD, to a mood disorder, and can exacerbate any other kind of disorder that already may have been in the offing. We could be talking about body dysmorphic disorder, an eating disorder, and really anything in the mental health realm can be made worse by having a lot of trauma and can be made worse by being in a chronically highly stressful situation, such as being a celebrity that is being commented on constantly.
Right. Is this also worse for female performers, particularly the scrutiny of their appearance, than it is for their male counterparts?
Well, I do think certainly in this culture, we do tend to have expectations of women's appearance that is, frankly, much more extreme than men's. Men are catching up. I will say that. Men are catching up, and we see that. For example, women still vastly outnumber men in terms of, let's say, eating disorders or body dysmorphia, but men are catching up. More men are developing eating disorders and body dysmorphia than did before, and I think that's because culturally there is increasing scrutiny for men, where there really was very little to none previously, but women still vastly outsize men in terms of people's feeling that they should look a certain way, that they should be judged by their appearance, and the kind of stress and, frankly, unreasonableness that places women under, whether it's about ageism or sexism, and whether it's about just completely unrealistic expectations, which are often set, frankly, by focusing on celebrities who may do all manner of things to their bodies and to their faces in order to try to produce what they think is expected and perhaps what they want. But it sets a model for everybody else that is likely unrealistic and perhaps even unhealthy at times.
Gail, I'm just thinking there might be somebody who watches this and thinks, boo-hoo, you're a celebrity, you make a lot of money, so the scrutiny is par for the course. It's what the price you pay for being this kind of figure and earning as much as you do. Do you think Ariana Grande's decision now challenges that and maybe might lead to some kind of shift in the way the public views these kinds of scenarios?
I think it will depend on the individual who is doing the judging. Envy and jealousy will bring out a sense of this is unfair. Look at all this person has, and they deserve whatever negative comes with it because it feels like punishment or comeuppance for them having too much. And we could be talking about celebrity, we could be talking about money, we could be talking about beauty. There will always be people who, feel in their envy that, I don't feel sorry for you. But what I think this simply points out is that while most people might agree they would rather be beautiful or they would rather be famous or they would rather be wealthy, those things do not guarantee you happiness. They do not guarantee you mental health. They do not even guarantee you physical health. And so what I hope this sort of points out is that when you are overtly criticizing, judging, and being very loud about it to somebody who is in the spotlight, what are you trying to do? I think that's really the question. So some people unconsciously, they're really trying to punish that person. And why? In other words, it says more about the individual and maybe think about what you're doing and why. Sometimes they might be doing it. And I think in this case of Ariana Grande, you've seen a lot of people saying that they're doing it to help her because they think no one is telling her somehow that she has a problem. The reality is the public at large isn't going to be able to probably point out a problem that person was completely unaware of and the people in her circle have not, spoken to her about. So again, I would say, I think what's more important in the public discourse is not the judging or the shaming or the criticizing, but perhaps the raising of awareness that certain issues exist and that having money and having fame or having even many other happy accoutrements of your life does not protect or prevent a person from having all manner of mental health issues or medical illnesses of various sorts. It does not prevent those things, and that actually adding stress and critique and judgment can exacerbate those things.
I suppose that it's a difficult one to handle if we're talking about the general public, because this is, they're dealing with fans and people from around the world. But let's say, for example, the media, even before the social media age, the media themselves have been sort of weaponizing or at least been the ones targeting a lot of celebrities from the way they look and the way they live their lives. And I suppose is that maybe, could that be where the change could start?
It's very difficult, right? Because the aims of these people are different, right? And media is a business, and you have to think of it that they have a pure business model. They're doing whatever they have to do to make money. And so the wellness and benefit of the person that they're making money from is really not their primary concern. If you think about it, it is a business model. And I think that the celebrity needs to think of it that way, and the public needs to understand it that way, that they may be at times doing something that harms someone because showing it makes some money. At the same time, it's sort of like a mutually parasitic relationship where they're each getting something from the other, right? So a celebrity feels they need the media to be famous and show the things that they do want to show, and that makes them money. So it's very complicated. And really what I would offer is, again, raising awareness about medical issues and mental health issues in particular, which have long been stigmatized and therefore either not spoken about or spoken about in a highly judgmental and stigmatizing way, such that people are shamed and unable to come forward and get themselves help because they're embarrassed that they have this problem, they have this issue. So I would offer that, ideally, sure, the media would be sensitive to not playing on someone's mental health and making that worse for them. You would hope so, but often that isn't what happens. And you would hope that if a celebrity or person of fame is struggling, that they can notice that whether it's the media or other stressors being placed upon them, that there's a time at which it's very important to A, get treatment, and B, perhaps, yes, protect your space so that you can avoid, at least temporarily until you feel more well, this very high stress environment, which will worsen anything that is going on.
Right. We've seen the West End production that Ariana Grande was part of, saying that they will recast her role and they will basically carry on. So what does that say about how the industry deals with the exit of a star, even at this level?
Right. Well, again, it's a business. So, they will invest in that person as long as they feel it will keep paying. But, they probably at some level don't want anybody to be irreplaceable because they want their business to carry on. I think it's very, very hard once you've attained great fame and, work comes so regularly. It's really hard to step back. I think on an individual level, the fear that you can be replaced or you might be replaced or you could be forgotten, and therefore your entire livelihood, on the line and all you've worked for could be at risk is what makes it so difficult for somebody to step back. So you have to understand that the stress of that is so hard and really probably not doable unless you recognize you're really at that level of risk that you have to do this. So I applaud her because frankly, it takes bravery. It takes bravery to say, I need to create some space. I have to do this for myself, for my health, and to believe at some level that when she's ready, she can really come back in a certain kind of way. That is a more brave and a healthy way of looking at things, but the industry itself isn't necessarily going to look at protecting that person. So the individual probably has to take it on their own, and hopefully that individual has a smaller circle, right? A support circle, which as a mental health professional, I would say is hugely important, that your own support circle you continue to interact with. You don't isolate. You're talking with them, you're getting the care you need, and you're dealing with your small circle who will also protect your space and your privacy.
Dr. Gail Seltz, it's been great getting your thoughts on this. Thank you very much for speaking to us. And so what do you think about Ariana Grande's decision to take some time out? Do you think it's fair for a celebrity to say they need time for themselves? Let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.